everyone, and welcome to the Daily HUD. It is Wednesday, and I am Sierra.
And I am Dom. The weather is, well, it's weathering.
Beautiful
it is.
in
Yeah,
Miami.
it's one of these days, one of these kinds of weather days. But we still have a lot of stuff to talk about because it is Wednesday, it is the middle of the week. Let's get into it. We're talking about Overwatch with the All-Stars event happening today, the Call of Duty World Pro League, the Paladins Pro League. We're talking about some MSI coverage for League of Legends. We're also looking at the Smite League, and that's our esports coverage.
WoW Classic.
Yes, has been announced.
Plague
Really
Tale,
big.
Take-Two, Star Wars, and a little bit of MTG controversy and some Beat Saber news.
Yes, so there's a whole bunch of video game news to talk about later on towards the end of the day. Seems like Tuesday was a pretty exciting day for our fans of video game news. But starting off with esports, because we are the esports channel after all. Let's take a look at what's going on with the Overwatch League because All-Stars starts today. Yes, we were talking a little bit yesterday about how we would be seeing the All-Stars event beginning at 6 p.m. Pacific time or 9 p.m. Eastern. We're going to get a chance to see the OWL All-Star Games beginning with the Widowmaker one-on-one. And if you're unsure of what time that is in your time zone, head on over to overwatchleague.com because they have a countdown timer right on the middle of their page. Currently on your screen, you can see the two exclusive skins that they've got for the event. So they look pretty sweet. You've got Mercy and Lucio.
Yeah. Shortly after, we'll see the All-Star Arcade featuring some particularly chaotic matches with sibling rivalry, terrible damage, and thanks but no tanks. This best of 5 looks to be a ton of fun and will be followed up just after by the Talent Takedown. Now this is really interesting because this is where the coaches draft their team from pulling from the talent team of the Overwatch League broadcast. Often casters and analysts are particularly critical of players as they claim to know what the optimal play is at any given time. But All-Stars, this is the time for the talent team to put their money where their mouth is.
Yeah, and I actually want to chime in on this a little bit because I used to be a pro commentator for League of Legends, so I'm super familiar with everyone saying, oh, they really shouldn't be doing that. That's not the best possible play, this sort of thing. And then you say, oh, well, can you do that? And they say, no, I can't do it, but I know what the best play is, which is an argument that often comes up in conversation. And of course, as a result, many fans are the ones who are saying, oh, why are the casters being so critical? The players are doing their best.
Right.
And as we said, this is the chance for the casters and the analysts to put the money where their mouth is. Exactly.
Yeah, that'll be great.
Now, finally on Thursday, though, we're getting the All-Star game itself, the Atlantic versus the Pacific, in which we get to pull the best players of the league and draft the best conceivable super team possible. And if I remember right, so far 6 players from New York Excelsior are already in that All-Stars team. That's a best of 7 first to 4 map wins takes the victory. Who are you looking for, Atlantic or Pacific?
I'm Pacific, of course.
Okay,
yeah,
Pacific?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I've got to agree just a little bit because you get that
West
Los Angeles
Coast
Gladiators
vibe.
in there. Exactly.
Yeah.
Even though we are filming from Miami, so perhaps some of our production in the back rooting for that Atlantic team. But hey, we're going to keep you updated on that event as it progresses.
All united. Manifest destiny.
Yes.
We are all
It's actually
united.
one collective team overall in which everybody gets to compete and participate. And again, we're going to be providing you updates onto those events, onto the Overwatch League All-Stars as that time rolls on. But still, it does look like it's going to be a lot of fun. The fans are already starting to fill out the Blizzard Arena. It is
Burbank,
the fun style.
California.
Yes, in Burbank, California.
Yeah,
I've not had a chance to go to the Burbank Arena myself yet, but I do have my fingers crossed to be able to get the chance to go at some point because they've put on so many spectacular broadcasts in the past. So many games. You've got the Mythic Invitational going over there, the WoW Arena challenges, StarCraft 2 going to be happening in that event.
Wow.
And because it is based in Los Angeles, I wonder actually if when we get the BlizzCon in, I want to say November, if we will also see those events happening, the finals of all of those tournaments happening at BlizzCon, or if they just do it at their Burbank Arena, which is nearby.
Near-ish.
Yeah, kind of. Irvine as opposed to Burbank. But still, seeing the esports scene grow and Blizzard set the pace by filling out this arena looks to be quite thrilling.
Blizzard keeping it cool in
Yes.
Burbank, California.
Yeah, and we will have some more WoW news coming on later towards the end of the day as we start looking for WoW Classic. But still, this is talking about esports. Before we get to that, because I'm super excited to talk about World of Warcraft, instead, we're talking Call of Duty first.
The Call of Duty returned last night with day 2 of Division A. In our first game, Evil Geniuses took to the stage to challenge the defeated team UYU in a 3-1 set. Gen G took 3-0 against Midnight, Reciprocity 1-3 against Optic Gaming, and Luminosity lost to FaZe Clan at an 0-3. This game continues later tonight with UYU versus Midnight, FaZe Clan versus Optic Gaming, Gen G versus Reciprocity, Luminosity versus Evil Geniuses. If you've got one match to watch of all these games, I would recommend keeping your eyes on FaZe Clan versus Optic Gaming. Optic are second at 9-4, and FaZe are just behind them in fourth place at 7-6 overall. If FaZe win, it will further separate the top 4 of the group from the bottom 4, as Luminosity and Reciprocity, the two teams just behind FaZe, are expected to take their game against Evil Geniuses at the end of the day, and that should be a game to watch. Evil Geniuses is the champion.
Yeah, well, in a couple of leagues, currently in the CWL, Evil Geniuses is at the bottom of the standings. So we're hoping that they can start taking some wins.
Yeah, they should. I mean, they're winning everywhere else. Why not?
Well, I guess it comes down to the actual skill set required in CWL.
Right.
In a team like Overwatch, you do have to play the objective more often than not. You play around these massive ultimates and abilities to turn and swing the tides of the game, and it's very momentum-based, whereas Call of Duty is much more of a good old-fashioned Twitch arena-style shooter, where usually the better aim is the team that wins. Which, again, different vein from Overwatch if that's your style, and it is actually so exciting to see these differentiators in not only just a genre where you've got League of Legends and Overwatch, but also differentiators in the genre of shooters itself, such as Overwatch bringing out the All-Stars event, bringing out the OWL, and then the Call of Duty World League on the other side saying, hey, we can participate as well by putting out these Twitch shooters where you have to be fast, you have to be quick, and it's less focused on abilities and more focused on your raw ability to shoot and defeat your opponent.
Yes, no, the individual
playmaking ability. Yeah. And even then, that's not even talking about Counter-Strike, which can also absolutely chip in with some huge viewer numbers as well. Everybody knows about Counter-Strike at this point. It's been around forever. But hey, the CWL is still chugging along. We've got more games happening, again, as we said, today, and then even more happening tomorrow. So we will be talking about those as they occur, alongside the results of the ESL Pro League for CSGO when we get the results of those games in. But looking at our next shooter, this is the Paladins Pro League, also returning. Yeah.
Every week we get to see them, and this week we are on week 8, which is happening tomorrow. Starting things off on Thursday, we'll be seeing Team Envy versus Navi, Kanga versus Renegades. And on Friday, the Paladins Pro League will play again with Kanga Esports versus Team Envy, Renegades versus Navi. And looking at those Thursday games, you'll want to keep an eye on Envy versus Navi, as they're side by side in the standings in 3rd and 4th place at 8-7 and 7-4 respectively. Or if you prefer Clown Fiestas, the second match will feature the 6th place team, Kanga, challenging Renegades. Between the two of their 13 total games, the two teams are only sporting 3 wins in total, so it's not just out of reason to expect a little bit of shenanigans.
Yeah, it's always fun when you get to see bottom tier teams actually clash, because sometimes you get some really wacky games where the two teams are legitimately trying their hardest to succeed, but they just can't quite pull it off, and they
a little bit of clowning around.
Yeah. So maybe it will get some nice, good, clean fun, or maybe it will just be an absolutely bloody mess. And we will, of course, see the results of those games as they start tomorrow and continue to run through the rest of the week as the Paladins Pro League is set to continue. For those of you who do have difficulty finding access to those videos as well, like I did this morning, it seems as though the Paladins Pro League Twitch was having a little bit of trouble, either taken down or reverted into the community stream. You can look towards the Paladins Pro League. I believe it's esports.paladinsgame.com. You can absolutely Google that as well. Just search Paladins Pro League. It seems as though the competitive league has made the jump to Mixer and YouTube instead of going towards Twitch. So we are starting to see some viewing platform competition.
Yeah, interesting. I wonder why they made that choice. Twitch seems to be like the most popular.
Yeah, we don't know. Maybe there was a Twitter post that we happened to miss or something. But we are seeing more and more people start to slowly migrate towards Mixer because it does have a slightly more robust platform. Not quite matching the functionality of Twitch just yet, but just the scalability of the chat interface and the ability, theoretically, for it to be much easier to just hop in and modify your settings. Twitch is still, I would say it used to be a high barrier to entry, but now it's coming down to sort of a medium barrier to entry, whereas Mixer still looks like it's super easy. You just create an account, you get your key, you start streaming.
And then you do it.
Yeah.
Well, good job for you, Dom.
Yes.
Way to work for the esports team and find what we needed to find.
We were able to find some of the footage.
Yes.
But of course, we will be bringing you those results as they occur. Those matches are going to take place starting at 1 p.m. Eastern tomorrow.
Okay, moving on.
Yes.
We've got some League of Legends news. MSI closed out its group stages yesterday morning. And as we mentioned yesterday, the group stages already locked in who's going where in the standings. In first place, Invictus Gaming with SKT in second, G2 Esports in third, and Team Liquid are in fourth. Oops.
And you'll notice behind us, we've actually got the wrong MSI logo. This is hilariously for MSI computers. So a little bit of miscommunication on our end, but we are, of course, talking about League of Legends. Am I wearing a League of Legends shirt? No, I'm not. Here, I'll just stand right here for the time being. But looking at our brackets, we'll get to the North American Davids in Team Liquid's challenge against Invictus Gaming's Goliath. Friday at 6 a.m. Eastern. International tournament times is just super crazy. So it is going to be an uphill battle for North America. We were talking about it beforehand. The fact that Team Liquid were able to make it out of groups, congratulations. You hit your bar. You were able to make it into the competitive stage. Now you've got to go up against the actual competition. Invictus Gaming are nigh unstoppable right now.
Right.
The only team that has been able to at least put a dent in them is SKT. Invictus Gaming have finally dropped a game in the group stage. In their last match against SK Telecom, they ended up dropping down, and we started to see SK Telecom swing a little bit more up in the standings. So it is good that we are seeing SKT finally find their competitive streak and return towards that skill level that we were expecting from them. But for Team Liquid, they're now saying, okay, the team that we're playing isn't 10-0. They aren't undefeated. They can lose. We can do it. But can they?
Yeah.
Is the question. They've got a lot of work ahead of them if they actually want to challenge and defeat Invictus Gaming.
Well, I think that they're going to give it their best shot. It's definitely an uphill battle, but maybe they won't lose as badly as they could.
It's certainly possible. Again, they've got until Friday to learn and show us what they can against that top team in the tournament. But let's take a look at the other side.
Yeah, on the other side of the bracket, we'll see SKT versus G2 on Saturday morning, 3 a.m. Eastern time. Wow. This match looks to be a competitive semifinal with SKT finally swinging into proper form in the back half of the tournament. That said, their opponents are G2, who have been looking consistently threatening. And can the ex-best team in the world keep the uprising of G2 from overthrowing them, or will the European Samurai squad find an upset against SKT to advance to the finals? We will have those answers for you this weekend.
And of course, this is referring towards how G2 versus SKT is actually going to be a pretty compelling match. If you are a fan of some close combat, maybe the North American hope will have been quelled by Invictus Gaming by the time that match takes place. This second one does look to be pretty competitive. G2 versus SKT really can go either way. G2 have been playing up. SKT at the beginning of the tournament were playing down. Maybe we could get ourselves a fun match. We've already been seeing tons and tons of Neeko, tons and of wacky picks into it as well as an attempt to deal with that. But SKT, they have a pedigree of excellence as one of the best team in the world from 2013 to...
Wow.
Gosh, 2016, I would say 2015. They won 2015. Did they win 2016? I don't remember. It all blurs together at this point because this is SK Telecom T1. This is Faker.
Is that because they keep the same players in SKT, or are they constantly finding new, better players for their team?
So I once had it explained to me in a super, super interesting way where you have your seasonal teams that come in and they win because the meta swings their way. They are teams that have style. They have a very confident and powerful style that when the meta shifts and that style fits that style, they succeed. Because you take two good things and they just add up together. SK Telecom is a team that not only has style, but has class. And class is something that never fades. They display excellence at all opportunities possible. And as a result of that,
It's not just about the swag. You got to have the class, too.
Exactly. It's like... I've got the face of that actor, the old woman, who's James Bond's the old.
Oh, she's
old
great.
One? Yeah,
I don't remember.
Judi Dench. Judi Dench. I'm getting
Dench,
in my ear. She is the type of actress who, no matter what role she goes in, it's going to be a 10 out of 10.
Yeah,
she's got class. That's the equivalent of SK Telecom.
Definitely.
Judi Dench. Sure.
Judi Dench.
Exactly.
Great analysis. Thank you, Dom. In our final esports coverage, we'll be looking to the return of the Smite League. The games will be returning and starting tomorrow, Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. That seems a little bit more possible for me to view, of course. Opening with E United versus Pittsburgh Knights, Space Station Gaming versus Luminosity Gaming. And on Friday, we'll see even more games with Team Rival versus E United, SK Gaming versus Dignitas. And looking back at Thursday's matches, you should be watching E United versus Pittsburgh, as E United haven't dropped a single game yet. At 4-0, putting them at second place in the standings. Pittsburgh have already dropped 2 games, a 3-2, but this is expected to be a much more competitive match than our second with Space Station Gaming, who are sitting on just a single win overall, and Luminosity, who are still winless.
Now, I just noticed behind us we do have the correct graphic for Smite Pro League. Great job, production. On Friday, we're looking towards Team Rival versus E United, and Team Rival currently, they're hopefully looking to capitalize on E United's strategies displayed on Thursday. With an extra day worth of footage and practice, these two are expected to be somewhat competitive at the very least. And after that, finally, we're going to get the chance to see the return of the first place squad, Dignitas, against the underdogs of SK Gaming. Currently, Dignitas are undefeated. SK Gaming are 2-2 at a 50% win rate. So it's not entirely out of convention for SK Gaming to try and take a win, but it should still be a little bit of an uphill battle for them.
I'm surprised Luminosity has no wins in this competition.
Well, I mean, certainly you see organizations that succeed well in some esports. For example, Dignitas is doing really, really well in Smite League, but maybe in other specific games, they're not quite as competitive.
Right.
Luminosity is the sort of team that succeeded in Counter-Strike, and I believe they also have a Dota 2 team that's pretty good.
Yes.
Just because you have multiple teams across multiple organizations doesn't mean you're going to be consistently successful across all things. When you look at teams like Team Liquid and Cloud9, really, really big names, those are outliers more often than not. And that's why those are the household names that we use regularly in conversation, as opposed to something like Luminosity or Evil Geniuses. So hey, there's suddenly surprising esports insight for all of the rest of you. Of course, we'll be bringing you the results of those games as they come in over the course of the remainder of our week. But now, I get to talk about the thing that I'm super excited about. We've got a lot of news to talk about, as yesterday outlets for gaming were absolutely lighting up. First, we're talking the monolith of the gaming industry, World of Warcraft. WoW Classic has finally been announced, as it's got a release date. We are going to be seeing it come alive on August 27th, where we get to return to old school Azeroth to relive our youths. The countdown has begun. The nostalgia is real. We've got 102 days to go until we get official access outside of closed beta, camera testing, stress testing, that sort of thing. And I cannot wait. When I was a wee young lad, exactly, I played WoW Classic with, at the time, a good friend of mine. We went to Best Buy and Fry's Electronics, and we would buy those magazines that would have the free WoW trial discs, where you could play for, I don't know, it was like a month, or maybe it was even 15 days for free on a trial version of the game. And we just created so many adventures on our own, going around and exploring the world. And so many fans have been clamoring for the chance to return to WoW Classic for such a long time because it is such a nostalgic trip. The game came out in, 2004, 2006?
Yeah.
Long time ago. And it's since then undergone massive changes. There are new animations, there are new models, there are new methods of storytelling. The questing is different, the raiding and the dungeons is different. So much has changed that the new game is near unrecognizable compared to the old game. But people have been talking about the experiences that they had in that old game for such a long time that we're all excited to see it actually come back to life. However, I do have I am a little bit concerned. Modern World of Warcraft is pretty easy compared to old school World of Warcraft. You've got your dungeon finder, you've got your raid finder, you've got massive guilds in order to get you to different locations, you've got flying mounts, you've got so many different small quality of life things. Whereas in World of Warcraft, it was brutal. It was difficult. It was so impossible. If you wanted to do a dungeon, you had to go into a major city or trade area, find 5 other people, and then trek to that dungeon. You couldn't just teleport and get in.
Right.
And half of the adventure would be getting to the dungeon itself because you often had to traverse entire maps, massive continent-sized locations to get there.
It's not the journey, or it's not the destination, it's the journey.
Exactly. And people are looking at World of Warcraft Classic and they're saying, oh, I remember going and playing Stranglethorn Vale during PvP wars and opening Ahn'Qiraj and all of that sort of thing. But we don't remember the exceptional amount of time we spent grinding to make that happen. We remember the highlights of those grinding because we want to share those experiences with others. So I am excited for it, for the opportunity to go back in and create my own adventures once again. I don't know if I have the time to go as hard as I did back in the day in the modern gaming ecosystem. This is actually going to be an awesome case study to see, does old school gaming translate into modern cultural sensitivities?
Yeah.
Because again, they are creating this largely true to accurate style of World of Warcraft Classic.
Maybe this will be an opportunity for those players who maybe now have kids to teach their kids the game that they loved.
It's exactly possible. Like, I know someday when I have kids, the first game I am going to give it was the first game I ever got, which was on the old Game Boy Brick, Super Mario Brothers.
Still have it saved.
Yeah, Super Mario Brothers 1, I want to say, because that game was impossible. It was so hard, and I played it for hours and hours and hours, and it taught me so much about, like, okay, I gotta die. It taught me how to be patient. It taught me how to conserve my resources, how to manage lives and go out of my way to collect extra resources so that I could be more prepared down the line. So that's sort of the question as well for today's kids who are playing, I hate to use this as an example, Fortnite, where you just immediately drop in, get the gratification of picking up a weapon, and then you pick up more and more guns over time, defeat your opponents, and get a victory royale. Of course, it's not that easy. There is a skill set and a learning curve associated with it, but the barrier to entry is incredibly low.
Right.
Whereas with old school games, because the barrier to entry was so high, for example, with WoW Classic, it taught you so much more about gaming and what's expected of you in order to succeed. Exactly. You'll mow your lawn and like it, kids. Just
back when you were a kid
Uncle
and had
Don.
to walk.
God, I am getting old now. I really am.
2 miles in the snow to go play World of Warcraft.
Exactly.
With your friends.
Uphill, both days to the Best Buy to get another copy of the trial disc. Yeah, I know. It's going to be a different experience no matter what from the modern style.
I hope people take on to it.
It's absolutely going to explode when it first comes out.
Yeah.
But will it succeed?
It last?
Only time will tell. But hey, let's take a look at what we've got up next, because World of Warcraft is just the tip of the iceberg for what's going on here. We also happened to see the release of Plague Tale Innocence yesterday, which happens to have been the same day as Rage 2. This one had a little bit more quiet fanfare as opposed to Rage 2. It wasn't advertised quite as much because the developers is a studio called Asobo. This is not the first time that they've created their own first-party game. In the past, they have largely been relegated to licensed side games for Disney products and other big names, such as creating additional licensing for the Xbox 360 port of The Crew, for example, in 2014. In 2016, they worked on, assisted on ReCore, which was expected to be a large new IP, but tragically didn't sell well. It did not success. It did not success, exactly.
Succeed.
It did not
struggled
succeed.
Upon release.
But finally, in 2019, this studio that's been around for nearly 20 years has released what looks like their first true new IP since 2008's Fuel in A Plague Tale: Innocence. It's an action-adventure stealth puzzle game in which it's set as a narrative romp through the Black Plague, one of the darkest periods of all of history.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, in seeing a focus on family and innocence as the core theme, that should be very interesting. And what a way to make a splash with their first original title in nearly 11 years.
Yeah.
As the game is being positively reviewed across all platforms so far, averaging around an 80 to 100 across multiple reviewers. That's impressive.
Yeah.
The game hasn't received any standout knocks, with the lowest review on the Metacritic still giving it a 60, claiming it's an okay experience overall.
Yeah,
but I like that family kind of vibe. I think that opens up
it's
the playing
family
field.
during the Black Plague,
Right.
so of course it has a
Everybody
much darker
dies.
twist. But the fact that as of a day after its release, the lowest score that people can give it is a 60,
Right.
when the highest score that we were seeing Rage 2 reach was about a 70 overall, speaks to the narrative structure, or at the very least the visual aesthetic of the game itself. And this is very compelling because I'm a huge fan of seeing studios take risks in the gaming industry, and this is a massive win for Asobo Studios. Hopefully we can see them leveling up from just creating side projects for movie tie-ins to creating more first-party titles and exploring their own creative spaces with hopefully some newfound freedom and flexibility. Big question though, does this mean we'll see a sequel? Maybe. It's up to the publishers and whether or not it actually sells and makes a lot of money, but it's good for the industry to see people take risks and be rewarded with good content.
Yeah, taking the time to create good content after 8-year hiatus before
so-
their IP.
Yeah, so they did Fuel, I think it was, in 2008. So it was 11 years since they
11
created
years.
their own game. And Fuel was a racing game, which is completely different than what we expected out of a narrative experience,
Right,
a walk-through style game.
Interesting.
So it is very, very different overall, and that we're seeing it being positively reviewed bodes well for the company and for the gaming industry as a whole. So we can see these smaller developers, these medium-sized developers, go out of their way to create new things. I mean, Hellblade did the exact same thing with Senua's Sacrifice a short while ago in 2018. And we're even seeing AAA studios do it as well, with God of War getting reinvented in the new style that was incredibly successful. So overall, this is good. It's like seeing somebody who's constantly doing small side projects for somebody else finally get a little bit of free time to make their own thing, and then they make it, and it's excellent.
Yeah.
So
Congratulations.
Yeah. Great job,
Fingers
Asobo.
crossed. Yeah, thank you.
Hopefully we'll get to see more games like this in the future out of Asobo Interactive. But now we're moving on towards our next subject. We're getting more and more fiscal reports as the fiscal year is ending. Yesterday, Take-Two Interactive surprised a couple of folks with a comment in their investor call. They said overall stocks were down about 3% for the company in their investor call. However, they remained adamant that they are expecting to beat the downward trend in the process. But in doing so, they might have let on a little bit more information than the fans have been wanting to, or at least expecting to hear. This confidence comes from beating these forecasts in the assurances that we will be seeing, quote unquote, titles coming in the fiscal year that have not been announced yet. This is important because Take-Two Interactive is not only the owner of 2K Sports, but also of Rockstar Games, the developers for Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption 2. Of course, this could be interpreted to mean the announcement and release of the expected NBA 2K 2020, which is scheduled for sometime later this year. It also could mean Grand Theft Auto 6. We reported on that about a month ago. There were some rumors that it had been in development, in which a developer in India, specifically a 3D modeler, had released his resume saying he worked on Grand Theft Auto 5, designing cars specifically, but also Grand Theft Auto 6. designing cars for the game. And that was a couple of months ago. So if they've already got the cars modeled, if they've already got the city prepared, we could be seeing a tease for Grand Theft Auto 6 in the near future, very possibly.
Yeah, possibly at E3.
E3, yeah, just in June, because that lines up with Rockstar's MO of release it when it's ready. We don't put out anything before it's actually prepared. We make sure we've got it all locked down beforehand. And even then, there's also the chance of seeing Red Dead Redemption 2 coming out on PC. It's expected. It hasn't technically been announced, but they did the same thing with Grand Theft Auto 5. They didn't announce it, but everybody kind of knew it was coming. And we haven't even seen Red Dead Redemption Online go fully live yet for console players. So there are still plenty of ways for this to be spun and to be interpreted. Fingers are crossed, though, that we do get Grand Theft Auto 6
yes, I would
sooner
be
than we expect.
Very excited to have that game.
Where would you set Grand Theft Auto 6? Of any city in the world.
That they haven't done, though. I mean, we're on number 6.
So they did Los Angeles, New York, Miami.
Did they do San
New York
Francisco?
Kind of twice. There's kind of a San Francisco-ish vibe. There's not a literal San Francisco, but it's kind of vibed in, I want to say Liberty City, mixing between that and not San Andreas, Los Santos, which was Grand Theft Auto 5. San Andreas. Yeah, that's inspired by San Fran. We could see a return towards San Andreas. We've seen returns to City in the past. Liberty City was in Grand Theft Auto 1 and 3.
Well, of course I'm going to vie for Miami because, I mean, it's
a return
so
to Liberty City?
Yes, a return to Liberty City.
A chance to drive out into the Keys perhaps a little bit and maybe
get a vacation?
wrangle some crocodiles. Or are they alligators here?
No, I think they're crocodiles.
Crocodiles?
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of crazy... I'm here from production, I'm hearing both and pythons. There's a lot going on with the ecosystem in Miami.
Yeah.
Just the exotic pets going crazy. But hey, let's take a look at what's going on next in gaming and entertainment news. Yes. Have you been keeping up with Game of Thrones at all?
Well, yes, but no spoilers because I'm on season
you haven't seen it quite yet.
6 or something.
We're not going to spoil anything just yet.
Yeah.
We did get confirmation yesterday to what most people were kind of expecting as to what's going on with this season of season 8.
Right, I've heard that there's been like some complaints surfacing, that there isn't as much focus in the writing, which disappoints me because I'm in the middle, maybe season 7, and I'm loving it.
So
I mean, the writing is beautiful.
Keep
it's
going.
Keeping me
it's
there.
Great. It's worth it.
Yeah.
But
it's starting to die off.
Here's the but.
Yeah.
In a recent summit, it was confirmed that the next Star Wars movie after Episode 9, Rise of Skywalker, is going to be helmed by David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, who are the creative duo behind all of Game of Thrones currently running on. Now, a lot of controversy has been surrounding this as of late because people are saying that it seems like they are just kind of rushing to get season 8 out. According to HBO and George R.R. Martin, apparently the showrunners were offered multiple more seasons to keep it going and keep creating, to continue working on the show for such a long time. But they did turn it down. And that means that season 8 is the last season, especially after the year-long hiatus.
2 years, I think it was.
Yeah. So we were in 2017, we skipped 2018, and now we're finally on the last season in 2019. So again, we've been waiting for it for such a long time. We find out now that they're not doing any extra, and now we know why. The 2 have been offered to do whatever the next Star Wars movie is after Episode 9, which makes sense. When you've been working on a project for nearly a decade, you probably want to look for something a little bit fresh, even if it is one of the most popular, if not the most popular show in the world right now.
Yeah, it's a huge show, but I mean, going on to Star Wars is a great move. I mean, that's the biggest gaming franchise, or
it's
franchise
one of the biggest
in
franchises in general in the world. You've got like Superman and Batman are ubiquitous globally.
Right.
But then you're starting to get Star Wars up there as well in one of the biggest franchises of all time, especially after its acquisition by Disney in the expansion into the new trilogy. So again, if you've been feeling that the writing or the creative direction of the show has suffered as it seems to be racing towards its conclusion with only 6 episodes instead of the full season.
And that's the Sunday.
Yeah, exactly.
Episode.
Maybe this could give you a little bit of insight as to why that might be, as finally we're starting to figure out, okay, well, the guys have been working on it for a long time. They're moving on to the next thing.
Yeah, hopefully we've cleared up some of that for you.
Yes.
And why we might have seen a Starbucks cup here and there.
Fingers crossed that the last episode is going to be awesome, that it is going to be
It
spectacular.
will probably be awesome.
Who would you have on the Iron Throne?
Oh.
Of everyone.
Well, you know.
That you know of so far. Oh, you're going to say Daenerys?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Of all of the
I love
characters,
her.
you're going with Daenerys on the Iron Throne?
Because she's just like, she's come so far where I'm at, and she birthed dragons.
Yes.
I mean,
Well,
that's a queen.
She was in the fire. They were in eggs.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they didn't come out of her. But
Yes.
yeah, I mean,
yes,
she
my
created
sweet summer
dragons.
child. You have so much to
I know.
learn, so much to see.
Young Padawan.
Yeah, exactly. But hey, we've still got even more news. On Monday, Cecilia Di Anastasio of Kotaku reported on another new controversy in the gaming world. Some of you might know her.
Yes, you might know her for reporting on the Riot Games sexism scandal and investigating the severe crunch workplace at Epic Games. Wow, she's a hard hitter. Di Anastasio has her ears to the ground on all things dire. This time, though, she's reporting on Magic the Gathering, specifically discussing the addition of several new players to the Magic Pro League. And here's the long and the short of it. The Magic Pro League offers a yearly contract to the best 32 MTG players in the world, and after several players were removed from the league, one for sexual misconduct allegations, another for cheating, there were new spots to be filled with several unexpected players. One, a gender non-binary woman, and another, a strong show performer in this year's earlier Magic Invitational, and a third, a player that isn't even ranked on the MGT circuit.
Yes.
Very exciting. However, these additions don't follow the mediocrity of the
Meritocracy.
Meritocracy, thank you. Continue. Meritocracy of the MTG ladder circuit, and suddenly create some concerns for players hoping to achieve their own spots on the top 32.
Yeah.
Meritocracy.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
So this it creates a sort of interesting discussion. A lot of players are dissatisfied with what we're hearing about how these 3 new players are getting in.
I've worked so hard.
Exactly.
I deserve this.
If you're 33 on the list and 3 spots open up, and then they give the spot to 142, 567, and somebody who's not even on the ladder itself,
Wow.
you're probably going to be pretty unhappy.
Maybe.
So that raises a very interesting
But you're not that far off.
conversation.
If you're 34 or whatever on the
Sure.
list, I mean, you're going to get there soon, eventually.
But that's the concern. Are you actually, though? If another 3 spots open up and they again decide to pick 3 random people, it seems like, why did you work so hard to get to 33? And that's why people are largely concerned
Right.
or voicing their malcontent with this situation.
Right,
Because
it becomes a little bit less about merit and a
Yeah.
little bit more about. But it is interesting that these players are replacing people who have been removed for scandal, for
Yes.
cheating, for sexism. So maybe this is an attempt
Allegedly,
to kind of
sure.
allegedly, right. Sorry, allegedly. Maybe this is a chance for them to kind of open up this group and kind of change a dynamic and
Yeah.
change the sort of boys' club maybe that's happening.
It seems like that's what the intent was. However, that does also unintentionally slight the core fan base, which is that boys' club.
Right.
A good example is something like Dungeons and Dragons, which historically has been played by white men aged 15 to 45, almost exclusively, just by the nature of how the product was marketed and designed. In the 5th edition, though, which I want to say was in 2014, it finally came out. It very, very deliberately took different approaches, showed people of different color skin, of different gender, of different races in a much more clear light to try to open up to everything. And it actually has succeeded in a massive way and now has
Yes.
become massive discussion across just about every genre.
And they have an event this weekend happening in Los Angeles.
Yes,
which
they very well could.
be very exciting because
Yeah.
they're going to feature live musicians. I was looking at the list of people attending. I mean, this is a wide
Mm-hmm.
variety group of people coming out and playing a game that they love and feeling included.
Sure.
They like that inclusivity
Yeah.
that Dungeons and Dragons is bringing.
Perhaps it's a little bit of like the Big Brother syndrome, where Dungeons and Dragons was under the same company of Magic the Gathering, Wizards of the Coast, and was the little brother for so long. But now it's the big brother,
Right.
and Magic the Gathering isn't happy about that.
No.
So this could be forced change to try to adapt it. Maybe it's a little bit too fast, but Again, time will tell. We'll again keep updated with what's going on with Magic the Gathering as the Pro League continues over the rest of the year. I believe we've got our next tournament announced in July and another unannounced one scheduled sometime either late May or June for MTGA. So, of course, we'll be talking about that as that comes. Looking now at our final topic for the day, in the least helpful patch change of all time, Beat Saber is officially releasing next week. And this is actually quite funny. Beat Saber is a VR rhythm game that is a lot of fun. It's like Guitar Hero, but with lightsabers.
Okay. Okay, I can see
exactly.
it. Exactly. You all right.
Beat your lightsabers to the beat of the music, and it's very, very fun and entertaining. Officially, the game has maybe a couple dozen songs or so, plus a handful of custom songs here and there. Where things get pretty funny is the modding community has since adapted the game to have the capability for custom songs that they input their own beats and rhythms to on a custom private marketplace. This has been out for a very long time. I want to say nearly a year at this point that people have been modding and creating their own things. Well, finally, Beat Studios, the developers for Beat Saber, have said, guess what? We're releasing the game and we're adding a level editor where you can put in your own songs, where the community is saying,
we already did that.
We've been doing that for a year. We've been doing it for ages. So,
but now we're allowing you to do it.
Yes.
Now you have our permission.
Well, yeah, I guess that's sort of the concern, right, is that whenever you create these custom songs and these custom tracks to play the songs to, you don't have the licensing to redistribute the music involved in these songs and these tracks. So if Warner Brothers or some other big developer, such as Sony, is unhappy with you sharing this music, they could issue takedown notices. Whereas if it's sponsored under the Beat Saber umbrella, things get a little bit safer, because if they issued the takedown, it doesn't go to the individual person distributing the music, it goes to Beat Studios.
So prior to this, it was just a mod.
Yes,
so
it was a modification.
A Warner Brothers or whoever company wouldn't go after a specific person or even the game because it's a mod, right?
They would go after the developers of the mod and the people using it, which adds a little bit of the concern. So big kudos to Beat Saber to finally adding the level editor. It is going to be coming in the PC version of the game. It has not yet been confirmed. It has not been confirmed for PlayStation VR, though I think it should be expected at some point.
Won't be too far off.
Yeah, again, it comes down to how difficult the level editor is expected to be. If it's got full flexible functionality, which requires the use of a keyboard, might be a bit tough to do on a DualShock 4 controller. So, of course, we'll be keeping an eye on that. And hey, maybe we'll get a chance to play Beat Saber sometime later this week, because it is fantastic. Absolutely recommend you play it. But hey, that is our news. You're just playing the drums over here.
Whoa. Oh, sorry. I mean, whoa.
That's just a lightsaber now. At the same time, are we just going to run through all of these? Anyways, this is the Daily HUD. Thank you so much for watching.
Yeah, thank you for watching. I'm Sierra.
I'm Dom. We'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. GG.
If you click the subscribe button, I'll get arms out of my head. Or shoulders.
Subscribe!